I don't care. You're lame. And them is lame too.
Yo, grab your popcorn and sit all the way down because we are witnessing a celebrity collapse so toxic, it's literally shaking the internet to its core. We're talking about Cardi B going scorched earth on Offset after he had the absolute audacity to mock her on a podcast, claiming none of his exes ever went up after him. But fam, the shade is just the tip of the iceberg. This involves the 2026 Super Bowl, NFL star Stefon Diggs, and a betrayal so messy it feels like a rejected Hollywood script. While Cardi was on that stage giving the performance of a lifetime, her brand new man allegedly had Offset's former side chick sitting in the family section wearing a WAGS jacket. Can you even imagine the level of psychological warfare?
I ain't never met none that I left went up, so I don't know how to experience.
From the Bronx to the big stage, Cardi didn't just clap back, she detonated. We're unpacking every receipt, every leaked FaceTime threat, and the moment Cardi realized the upgrade might have been the ultimate setup. This isn't just gossip, it's a cultural earthquake involving paternity claims, violent threats, and a $500,000 watch meant to scream, "I don't need any of you." Stay tuned, because this story is spiraling out of control. Let's set the stage properly, because to understand why Cardi B finally snapped, you have to understand the level of disrespect we're dealing with here. It's January 2026, and the world is already buzzing because Cardi is gearing up for one of the biggest moments of her entire career, the Super Bowl. But while she's in the gym and the studio, Offset decides it's the perfect time to sit down on the Joe Budden podcast. Now we all know Joe's platform is where rappers go when they want to stir the pot. But Offset didn't just stir it, he tipped the whole damn thing over. He's sitting there looking comfortable, dripping in jewelry, acting like a man who has completely deleted his own messy history from his hard drive. And then he says it, the line that launched 1,000 think pieces. He looks Joe dead in the eye and says, "I ain't never met none that I left went up." Wait, hold on. Rewind that.
Not none of them. Not none of them. But you. I regret you. I'm too good for you. I always been too good for you.
None that I left went up? Is he for real? The absolute audacity it takes to utter those words when your ex-wife is Belcalis Marlenis Almanzar Cephas, better known as Cardi B, is actually astronomical. We are talking about a woman who is a multi-platinum, Grammy-winning, record-breaking global phenomenon. She didn't just go up after him. She's been orbiting the moon while he's still trying to find his way out of the atmosphere. But that's the thing about Offset. He was banking on the idea that because she was going through a public transition, he could rewrite the narrative and make it seem like he was the one who made her. It was a calculated jab, a way to diminish her success right when she was about to take the biggest stage in sports. And you already know the internet didn't let that slide for a single second. Within minutes, X was on fire. Reddit threads were being created faster than you could refresh your feed. The consensus was unanimous. Offset was being historically, provably, and embarrassingly delusional. But as much as the fans were dragging him, everyone was waiting for one thing. We were waiting for the Bronx to enter the chat, and boy did she enter. When Cardi B heard that clip, she didn't just respond with a tweet or a subliminal caption. She didn't call her publicist to put out a neat professional statement. No, she did what Cardi does best. She went straight to Instagram Live and she let the dragon out of the cage. She hit that Go Live button and the numbers climbed to hundreds of thousands in seconds. You could see the raw, unfiltered fury in her eyes. This wasn't just celebrity beef anymore. This was a woman who had spent 9 straight years protecting a man, swallowing her pride, and enduring public humiliation, only to have him spit in her face on a national podcast. She started off by calling him out for the games he plays whenever she's at her most vulnerable. She revealed that she had blocked him, not because she didn't care, but because she knew exactly what he was doing in Atlanta. She knew about the women. She knew about the lames, as she called them. She told the world that she blocked him because the knowing was destroying her from the inside out. She just wanted to survive the day without her phone blowing up with screenshots of her husband with another girl. And then she dropped the hammer. She looked into the camera and called him lame. Now, for anyone outside the culture, that might sound like a mild insult. But in the Bronx, in the streets, calling a man lame is the ultimate death blow to his ego. It strips away the chains, the cars, the rap career, and the tough guy persona. It says, "You are insignificant. You are not a prize. You are a burden." She told him, "I don't care. You're lame. And them is lames too." She was talking about every single side chick, every mistress, and every groupie he had entertained while she was home carrying his children. To really understand why this hit so hard in 2026, we have to look back at the wreckage of their marriage. This wasn't just one mistake. It was a pattern of betrayal that started before the ink was even dry on their marriage certificate. Remember December 2017? They had been secretly married for only 3 months when the first cheating videos surfaced. 3 months of wedded bliss, and he was already out there getting caught on camera. And what did Cardi do? She stayed. She defended him. She told the world that she wasn't a normal woman and that people shouldn't judge how she handles her household. But Offset took that grace and used it as a green light. We saw the 2018 Rolling Loud incident where he crashed her set with a "Take Me Back" sign made of roses. Half the internet thought it was romantic, but the other half saw it for what it was: public manipulation. He was using her fans and the media to pressure her into forgiveness while she was still healing from the embarrassment. Then came 2020, where she actually filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, only to take him back again after he showered her with gifts and promises of change. And who could forget 2023, when Offset went on his Instagram story and accused her of being unfaithful, a post he deleted almost immediately, but the damage was done. By the time we got to 2026, Cardi had endured enough. She had their daughter, Blossom, in September 2024, right in the middle of the marriage falling apart for the final time. She was dealing with postpartum, dealing with 3 kids, and trying to run a multi-million-dollar empire. And here is Offset on Joe Budden's couch, acting like he's the one who gave her a career. Cardi's live wasn't just a clap back. It was an exorcism. She screamed her truth until her voice was hoarse. She said the 3 words that every toxic man fears most: "I regret you." Think about the weight of that. Not "I hate you," because hate is still an emotion tied to love. But "I regret you" means I wish you never happened. I wish I hadn't given you my years, my body, or my peace. She made it clear that she was too good for him, that she had always been too good for him. And for the first time in nearly a decade, the public wasn't divided. Usually there are the Team Offset people and the Team Cardi people. But this time, the streets were unanimous. They saw a woman who had been pushed to her absolute limit. They saw a woman who had moved on, found a new man in NFL star Stefon Diggs, and was finally glowing. But Offset couldn't handle that. He couldn't handle the fact that his trophy had found a new pedestal. So as we headed into Super Bowl weekend, the energy was electric but dangerous. Cardi was at the top of her game, ready to perform for 100 million people. She had the NFL boyfriend, the respect of the industry, and she had finally cut the cord with the man who had been dragging her down for years. Everyone thought the drama was over. Everyone thought Cardi had finally won the war. But what she didn't know, and what the world was about to find out, was that the ultimate betrayal was being cooked up behind the scenes. And it wasn't coming from Offset this time. It was coming from inside the house. The stage was set for the 2026 Super Bowl, but while the world was watching the halftime show, a different kind of game was being played in the VIP sections. A game of psychological warfare that would make Offset's podcast comments look like child's play. Cardi was about to step onto that stage as a queen, but she had no idea that her upgrade was about to become her biggest nightmare. If you thought the podcast drama was the peak of the mountain, you are sadly mistaken, because what happened next is quite literally the most unhinged plot twist in the history of modern celebrity relationships. We have to talk about February 2026, Super Bowl 60. This was supposed to be the moment of total vindication for Cardi B. By this point, she had done exactly what every person on the internet told her to do. She moved on. She had finally stopped the cycle of taking back a man who didn't value her. She had upgraded, or at least that's what the headlines were saying. She was in a high-profile relationship with NFL superstar wide receiver Stefon Diggs. They were the new it couple. They were spotted at Knicks games, looking happy, looking healthy, and looking like $1,000,000. Cardi was glowing. She had announced her pregnancy with Diggs in September 2025, and by November they had welcomed a baby boy. The narrative was perfect. The fans were screaming, "Cardi finally got her NFL king. No more rapper drama, no more groupies, no more public humiliation." It felt like a movie ending. Cardi was even set to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show alongside Bad Bunny. Everything was lined up for her to take her final bow as the woman who won the breakup. But the universe has a very twisted sense of humor, and Hollywood writers would have rejected this script for being too unrealistic. Super Bowl weekend arrives, and the energy in the stadium is heavy. Diggs' team is getting absolutely dismantled on the field, a 29-13 blowout. But the real loss wasn't happening on the scoreboard, it was happening in the stands. While Cardi is backstage getting ready to perform for over 100 million people, something sinister is brewing in the friends and family section. Now keep in mind, the friends and family section isn't just for anyone. To get a seat there, to get those specific credentials and a WAGS jacket, which stands for wives and girlfriends, for those who don't know, you have to be personally and deliberately invited by a player. It's the inner circle. It's the most secure area in the building. And sitting right there, in the middle of it all, was a woman named Pry. Now, who is Pry? If that name sounds familiar, it's because she isn't just some random influencer. Pry was one of Offset's alleged former mistresses. Let that sink into your soul for a second. The woman who played a role in the destruction of Cardi's marriage to Offset was now sitting in the private section of Cardi's new man, wearing a jacket that labeled her as part of his inner circle. You cannot make this up. While Cardi is on that stage giving her all, performing her hits, and proving to the world why she is the queen of rap, this woman is posting "I love you" to Stefon Diggs on social media. The level of disrespect was surgical. It was precise. It was designed to hurt. Imagine finishing the performance of your life, coming off that stage high on the adrenaline of a global audience, only to check your phone and see that your new partner, the man who was supposed to be your safe space, had invited your ex-husband's side chick to the game. The internet didn't just buzz, it absolutely detonated. Within hours, the halftime show was old news. All anyone could talk about was the Pry situation. Cardi didn't even stay for the end of the game. She left the venue early, which immediately sent the gossip blogs into a frenzy. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. People were asking the questions that needed to be asked. Did Stefon Diggs know? Did he know exactly who Pry was and what she represented to Cardi? Did he know the history of trauma and infidelity she had caused in Cardi's past life? Because if he did, this wasn't just a mistake. This was psychological warfare. This was a man using a woman's deepest wounds to humiliate her on the biggest stage in professional sports. And then, like clockwork, the receipts started falling. Tasha K, who is always at the center of the storm, leaked alleged proof connecting Diggs and Pry. The timing couldn't have been more devastating because rumors had been circulating for weeks that Diggs was actually planning to propose to Cardi after the game. She was supposed to leave that stadium with a ring and a celebration. Instead, she left with a broken heart and a digital war. But Pry wasn't the only ghost in the machine. Allegations started swirling that Diggs was also still involved with his ex-girlfriend, Sky Marlene. It was like 2017 all over again. But this time, the stakes were even higher because there was a newborn baby involved and a very public upgrade narrative to protect. The digital fallout was instantaneous. Cardi and Diggs unfollowed each other on Instagram before the fourth quarter was even over. In 2026, an unfollow is the equivalent of a public divorce filing. It's the modern way of saying it's over and don't call me. A source close to the situation confirmed that they had broken up that very night, although they teased that a reconciliation wasn't impossible. But the damage was deep. The internet, of course, had no mercy. 50 Cent, the undisputed king of trolling, jumped right into the mess, posting, "Get away from me," with a screenshot of the drama, hitting Cardi while she was already down. On X, the takes were brutal. People were saying things like, "Cardi left a cheater just to get cheated on by the new man with the old man's side chick." This is some interstellar level of folding time and space. It felt like a glitch in the celebrity matrix. But we have to look at the symmetry of this situation. Why Pry? Out of all the women in the world, why would Stefan Diggs be linked to the one woman who could hurt Cardi the most? This is where the conspiracy theories started taking over Reddit. Was this a setup? Was Offset involved? Was he pulling strings from the shadows to ensure that Cardi's going up moment was completely tarnished? Remember, just weeks before this, Offset was on that podcast saying nobody he left went up. If he could orchestrate a situation where her new relationship collapsed in the most humiliating way possible, he would be proving his point. Whether he was directly involved or not, the optics were terrifyingly perfect for him. And through all of this chaos, through the tears and the public mockery, where was Offset? He was quiet, dangerously quiet. He didn't post a story. He didn't tweet a laughing emoji. He just let the fire burn. But silence from a man like Offset doesn't mean peace. It means he's watching the show. Insiders started whispering that he was allegedly behind some of the strategic leaks to the blogs, timing the information drops to maximize the pain. He knew the Super Bowl was her moment. He knew the world would be looking at her, and he allegedly wanted to make sure that when they looked at her, they saw a woman being betrayed once again. Cardi, true to her nature, didn't stay silent for long. She went back to her digital battlefield, Instagram Live. But this time, the energy was different. It wasn't just anger, it was exhaustion. She spoke about how men love to play games with her when she's at her most vulnerable. She was postpartum, she was stressed, and she was trying to be a mother to a newborn while being a global superstar. She said, "He likes to play games with me because he knows I'm not an easy girl." She was realizing that the cycle wasn't about the man she was with. It was about how these men viewed her strength as something to be broken. She was seeing the exact same playbook Offset used being run by a man in a different jersey. They wait for the low point. They wait for the moment you're tired, and then they strike. This Super Bowl betrayal wasn't just a breakup. It was a cultural moment that shifted how everyone looked at Cardi B. For years, she was the one people laughed at for staying. Then she was the one people cheered for leaving. And now she was the woman the world felt genuine empathy for. The irony of the situation was almost too much to bear. She had spent $500,000 on an Audemars Piguet watch just to feel something, calling it self-care, while the internet debated if she was cursed in love. But the war was just getting started, because while the Super Bowl drama was playing out in public, a much more dangerous criminal element was developing behind the scenes. We're talking about violent threats, paternity claims that made no sense, and a legal mess that was about to pull both Offset and Stefan Diggs into a courtroom. Now hold on tight, because this is where the story takes a hard, sharp turn from messy celebrity drama into genuinely dangerous territory. We're moving away from Instagram unfollows and subliminal podcast shots and heading straight into a zone where lawyers, restraining orders, and potential criminal liability start taking center stage. Because Offset's behavior in late 2025 and early 2026 wasn't just about being a scorned ex. It started looking like a full-blown obsession that put everyone's safety into question. Enter Selena Powell. Now, love her or hate her, Selena Powell has spent years building a brand as the industry's most chaotic whistleblower. Sometimes her receipts are debatable, but in early 2026, she dropped a bomb that even the biggest skeptics couldn't ignore. Selena leaked a FaceTime video recording that sent shockwaves through the NFL and the music industry simultaneously. In the clip, Offset is allegedly seen and heard making direct, explicit, and violent threats against Stefan Diggs. We aren't talking about a diss track or some vague rap lyrics. According to the leak, Offset specifically threatened to shoot Diggs in the knee, strip him, and rob him. Imagine the gravity of that. One of the biggest rappers in the world caught on camera, allegedly threatening to permanently maim a professional athlete who just happens to be the new man in his ex-wife's life. The reaction on X was immediate and furious. Posts started racking up over 9,000 likes in minutes, with fans calling Offset unhinged and dangerously obsessed. Reddit threads were practically screaming that someone needed to intervene before this turned into a tragedy. The digital world was witnessing a man go completely off the deep end in real time, and it was terrifying. But Selena wasn't done. She claimed that during those same FaceTime calls, Offset let slip a detail that hit Cardi B harder than any infidelity ever could. She alleged that Offset revealed he had actually abandoned Cardi during the birth of their first daughter, Culture, back in 2018. If you think back to that time, the public image was of a doting father and a supportive husband. But if these 2026 leaks are true, it adds a layer of cold-blooded cruelty to everything he said on the Joe Budden podcast. How can a man sit there and say, "None of my exes went up," when he allegedly wasn't even in the room when his wife was bringing his child into the world? It makes his alpha male podcast persona look like a cheap mask covering up years of emotional neglect. And then, just when you thought the situation couldn't get any more Jerry Springer, we hit the paternity chaos. In November 2025, Offset did something so bizarre, it left the entire internet scratching their heads. He posted, then quickly deleted, a claim that Cardi's new baby, her son with Stefon Diggs, was actually his child. He tried to claim another man's baby on a public platform. Cardi didn't hold back, blasting him for harassing her and her new family. Everyone knew the claim was baseless, but the intent was clear. He wanted to inject chaos. He wanted to make Diggs doubt his role as a father, and he wanted to keep himself at the very center of Cardi's universe, even if he had to lie to do it. But here's the kicker, the detail that Selena Powell dropped that turned everything on its head. Diggs allegedly couldn't even sign the baby's birth certificate. Why? Because according to the leaks, Cardi B and Offset were still legally married. Despite the filings in 2024, the divorce proceedings had been so messy, so drawn out, and so bogged down by legal red tape that they were still husband and wife on paper in early 2026. This hidden legal complication meant that every move Cardi made with Diggs was shadowed by her legal connection to Offset. It was a nightmare scenario. It meant that Offset still had a legal foot in the door of her life, and he was using every bit of that leverage to pull the strings. Through all of this madness, the threats, the paternity stunts, the strategic leaks, Cardi's response was a masterclass in Bronx defiance. She didn't hide. She didn't cower. She went back on live and aimed her words directly at Offset's ego. She called him out for feeling himself because of his album's success and using that newfound confidence to do her dirty after 9 years of her holding him down. She revealed the dark side of his post-breakup behavior, claiming he would FaceTime her just to parade other women in front of the camera. Think about the level of emotional manipulation required to do that. It wasn't about the other women. It was about the power of knowing he could still make her look. It was about making sure she never felt truly free, no matter how many Super Bowls she performed at or how many upgrades she found in the NFL. By mid-February 2026, the cultural conversation had fundamentally shifted. People weren't just picking sides in a breakup anymore. They were asking if Cardi B was safe. The memes stopped being funny, and the tea started tasting like a warning sign. The symmetry of the whole thing was haunting. Cardi left a cheater, found a new man, and then got betrayed by the new man with the old cheater's mistress, all while the old cheater was allegedly threatening the new man's life. It's a circle of toxicity that feels impossible to break. So where do we stand right now? Cardi B recently went out and dropped $500,000, $500,000, on a custom Audemars Piguet watch. She called it self-care. On X, fans called it a queen move, but deep down, everyone knew it was a woman trying to buy a moment of peace in the middle of a war zone. She's focused on her 3 children, Culture, Wave, and Blossom, and her newborn son trying to build a fortress of stability while the men in her life seem determined to burn the house down. She recently opened up on a podcast, admitting through tears that she regrets a lot and that she was hurt every day during her time with Offset. It was the most vulnerable we've ever seen her. As of this moment, the divorce is still a lingering cloud. The Diggs situation is in a state of unresolved, unfollowed limbo. And Offset remains a wild card whose next move could be a podcast quote or a courtroom appearance. The Super Bowl was supposed to be the end of the old Cardi and the beginning of the new one. But if 2026 has taught us anything, it's that the past is never really gone. It's just waiting for the right moment to leak. This isn't just a story about rappers and athletes. It's a mirror reflecting the most toxic parts of our culture. Cycles of forgiveness that become cycles of abuse, and the price of living out your most painful moments in front of a billion people. Cardi B is a survivor. There's no doubt about that. But as the internet waits for the next Instagram live notification, the only thing we know for sure is that this war is far from over. The cameras are still rolling, the receipts are still being printed, and in the world of Cardi and Offset, the next explosion is always just one click away. Man, 2026 is already off to a wild start, and we're only just getting started. This whole saga between Cardi, Offset, and DRAGS is proving that sometimes reality is way messier than fiction. But I want to hear from you, the real ones in the comments. Is Cardi B cursed in love, or is she just surrounded by men who can't handle her light? And what about that Super Bowl betrayal? Do you think DRAGS actually knew what he was doing by inviting Pry into the family section? Or was he just another pawn in Offset's game? The internet is completely divided, and I want to know where you stand. If you're riding with Cardi through the storm, drop a queen emoji in the comments. If you think this whole thing is just a massive, calculated PR stunt for an upcoming album, tell us why. And look, if you want the absolute latest on this drama before the lawsuits start flying, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're digging deep into these receipts so you don't have to. Turn on those notifications because you know Cardi could go live again any second, and we'll be right here to unpack it all. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.